Hey everyone! In this video today, I am going to be showing you guys how to make this simple diamond friendship bracelet right here, which is actually a variation off of a bracelet book pattern that I found online, which I will also have linked below if you're interested in this pattern. I found this pattern first when I was looking for bracelets to make, and I did like the way it looked, but I also kind of didn't enjoy how the spacing was a little asymmetrical, and I also wanted it to be a little bit thicker, so I came up with this sort of variation that has 5 colors instead of 4. And I did change it up just a little bit. You can kind of tell the difference between the two. And I'm not claiming that I made this up or anything, so if there is a pattern like this online already and you've seen it, please tell me what it is so that way I can actually give proper credit, because I don't want to say that I made this up. And I thought it would actually be a pretty fun tutorial to film for you guys today, so if you want to learn how to make this really easy bracelet, then keep on watching. So of course you are going to need 5 colors, and all of the strings need to be an even amount. And if you're interested as to what colors I'm using today, it is these ones right here, and it is the DMC embroidery thread. And you want to measure out each string about 30 to 40 inches, I would say, and it doesn't matter what color order you want to have, that is completely up to you, but I will say your first and your fifth strings are going to shorten up a lot quicker than the other colors, so it might be a good idea to make them just a little bit longer if you are worried about that. And because this is sort of a mirroring pattern, the best way to do it is just to measure out however many inches you need. If you need more than 30 to 40, that's totally fine. And then have that length, and then fold it over and repeat that, so that way you kind of have your strings doubled up like this. So I went ahead and gathered up all my strings off camera, and like I said before, you will need 5 colors and 10 strings, so you will need 2 pairs of each color. And if you don't want to make a loop at the top of your bracelet, you can double up your strings and add a few extra inches on the end, and then just cut them off down the middle like that, so that way you can make braided ends and all that, but that is totally up to you. And because I did pick random colors, it doesn't really matter what order I want my strings to go in, but here is a reference for you guys. We are going to be starting off doing inverse chevrons, so just make sure your colors are mirroring each other. So let's say I will put it like that, and do whatever order you want, but make sure you do the same thing on the other side. And do note that whatever you put in the middle is going to be the first chevron, and then the next one is the second one, so on and so forth. So just be sure to keep that in mind. And this bracelet is actually really easy to make. All you're doing is inverse chevrons and regular chevrons with a little bit of extra flair along the way. So first we are going to do a full set of inverse chevrons, and what I mean by a full set is doing the pattern with every single color until you get back to the first one. So for this bracelet, the full set is from white to gray, since those are the 5 colors that I used. So first what we are going to do is join our 2 middle threads together, and they should be the same color, of course. And the first few rows are going to be a little wonky as you are forming your inverse chevron, but I wouldn't worry too much about it because it'll sort of straighten itself out as you make more rows. And it doesn't matter which side we do first because we are going to be mirroring what we do on the left to the right. So I'm going to go ahead and start on the right side. So we made our knot in the middle, and then you are going to take this same strand and do forward knots on every single one of these strings until you get it to the outside. And now that we have that, we are going to go to the left side, and like I said before, we're going to mirror what we did on the right onto the left. So we want to take our first color and do backward knots on all of our strands until we get it to the outside. And now that you have that, you are going to repeat that with your next 4 colors until your very first color is going to be back in the middle. And when your first color does get back to the middle, I will show you guys what the next step is. So again, we do a knot with our 2 middle strands, and then starting on whichever side you want, on the right side we are going to do forward knots on all of our strands until we get it to the outside. And then on the left side, we do backward knots on all of our strands until we get it to the outer left side. So here I have finished my first set of inverse chevrons, and you can see that my first color is now back in the middle. And with our first color, we are going to go ahead and do our very first little diamond, like you can see here. So what we are going to do first is tie our 2 middle strings together. And I personally want to start on the right side again, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. And what we want to do is take our first color, and for our diamond, we are going to do 2 forward knots on our first 2 strands. And on the third string, we are going to do a forward backward knot, and then we are totally ignoring our 4th one. First forward knot, second forward knot, and then on our third string, we are going to do a forward backward knot. And we are done there, so we can go to our left side now. And we are mirroring what we did on the right, again, of course. So we are going to do 2 backward knots on our very first 2 strands, and then on the third one, we are going to do a backward forward knot. And then again, ignore our last string over there completely. So here is our first backward knot, second backward knot, and then our backward forward knot. Still going back to the middle now, we are going to yet again tie our middle 2 strings together. And starting on the right side again, we are actually only going to knot onto the very first string next to our working one. So on our very first string right here, we are going to do a forward backward knot. And then on our left side, on our very first string, we are going to do a backward forward knot. And then to close our little mini diamond up, we are going to knot our middle 2 strands together once again. And you might notice a few gaps happening because we are bringing the inverse chevron in a little bit. So if you do need to wiggle your strings around, tighten it up a little tighter, then that's okay. Even then, I still have a tiny gap, but that does come with a little bit of practice. And now we want to finish our bigger diamond here. So we are going to take our first color and we want to bring that back to the center. So in this case, my first color is green. Whatever your first color is, whatever you started the big diamond with, we are going to do 2 backward knots on these 2 strands to bring it into the middle. And then on the left side, we are going to take our first color and do forward knots on 2 of our strands to bring it back to the middle. And now we want to close up our bigger diamond as well, so we want to take our 2 strands and just tie them together. We are actually going to reverse this and do a regular chevron, as you can see here. We want to bring our chevron down instead of upwards. So to do that, we are going to start on the very outside, which will be our 5th strand, and we are going to do regular chevrons. So starting on the right side again, of course, we are going to take our very first strand and do backward knots on all 4 of our strands until we get to the middle. Now that we have that, we are going to move on to the left side, and we are going to take our first outer left strand and do forward knots on our next 4 strands, so that way we can bring it to the middle. And now we want to connect our middle strands together, so go ahead and just tie a knot. And do that for the rest of your 4 colors. Go ahead and finish your set, and then I will meet you back up when your first colors are in the middle. So I finished my full set. My very first color is now in the middle. And next we are actually going to do this random little X bit right here that is going to help us transition back to the very beginning here. Still starting on the right side, we are going to take our outermost right strand and we are going to do 2 backward knots on our first 2 strands, and then on our third one we are going to do a backward forward, and we are going to completely ignore our strand in the middle here. So here is our first backward knot, and then our second one, and then for the third we want to do a backward forward knot. And next we are going to take our new outermost right strand, and we are just going to do a backward forward knot on the very first strand next to it. And then we're going to sort of close this up here, and we are going to take our third strand from the right, which will be whatever we did with this little point here. And we are going to do 2 forward knots to bring it back to the outside where it was before. And now we are going to move on to the left side here. We're going to take our outermost left strand and we are going to do 2 forward knots on our first 2 strands. And then on the next one, we are going to do a forward backward knot. Again, leaving this center strand alone. And then next, we are going to take our newest outer left strand and we are only going to do a forward backward knot on the strand next to it. And then again, to kind of close that in, we are going to take our third strand from the left and do 2 backward knots to bring it back to the outside. And now you are back to where you started. Once you have the pattern down, it's actually very easy and quick to work up. So I really hope you guys enjoyed this video today. It's a little bit of a simpler video as well, but it does have a little bit of added fun to it. So thank you guys so much for watching this video today, and I will see you in the next one.